Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the Smart Sewer Program RPR Information Session Workshop Class 4. I hope everybody's doing well today. With that, a quick overview of Class 3 that we covered last week. We went over documentation overview of daily reports, KC Water's project management software, which is now eBuilder, schedule of values, highlighting some important aspects within the approval process for the schedule of values and what RPRs need to look for, and RPR's verification of payment, as well as tracking and schedule review, and the payment application process. I will send out Class 3 and 4 PDF, basically the slide materials this afternoon to you also, so be on the lookout for that as well. With that, today's agenda, basically covering 4 items. Smart Sewer Public Outreach Resources. We have with us Drew Matrician, the Public Outreach Task Leader. He'll help out on covering some of these important resources for your use. Also, construction impacts, site and surface restorations, and the Action Center, which are 311 cases, and the process behind tracking those down and getting those resolved. So with that, we wanted to start out with an interactive poll. You can answer in a couple different ways. It'll be a word cloud, so you can type in your answers, or feel free to verbally go ahead and just chime in with your answers. But with the content of Class 4, we wanted to basically kind of ask you guys, what issues do you feel are of most concern to property owner and businesses that you've experienced, either currently or on prior projects? You should see that question popping up now, or go ahead.
Well, this is Dallas, Carlisle.
Yeah.
Over the years, I find that most property owners, their biggest concern is access, both for themselves and if they're a business traveling public. And they just like to be kept in the loop. They want to feel like they're part of the project, that they have some input.
Yeah, so no surprises, right?
No. Yeah, only good ones.
Yeah, that's a great answer. What else do we have in the chat here?
I agree with Dallas on that 100%.
Yeah, so traffic disruptions, access, I would say restoration's a big one also, but that also kind of plays into the access answer there. So yeah, I mean, those are all good answers and just things to be thinking about. We'll kind of key on those as we move along through this particular class. One other question: what issues do you feel get the most attention from City Council, the mayor, KC Water leadership, and the media? So any of those particular entities, which issues do you feel like are brought to their attention most?
Sinkholes.
Did you say sinkhole?
Yeah, we had one time. It's a pretty big one. That got a lot of attention.
Yeah, that's a good one. I hadn't thought about that. But those do appear more than what people would think. Typically, yeah, those escalate pretty quickly depending on where they're at, especially. Last fall, as a matter of fact, there was a pretty decent sinkhole in front of City Hall that we completed an emergency repair on, and pretty high profile fix. And access was a key item with that too, with the police station being just right up the block. So Any other responses? Road closures, safety.
Well, this may not be what you're looking for, but fire and rescue access for street closings or emergency repairs or anything else. That seems to be a topic that people like to get on board about.
Yeah, I would say ADA access or issues, you know, if there's insufficient temporary access that's not ADA compliant or issues, you know, along those lines. Okay. Yeah, those are all good answers. Utility damage, utility outages, safety concerns, poorly completed, customer access for businesses. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, good answers. So with that, that kind of plays into our next section here with public outreach resources. So with that, I'll turn it over to Drew Matrician for a bit, our Smart Sewer Public Outreach Task Leader.
All right, thanks, Drew. Two Drews. So I'm Drew Matrician. Nice to chat with you all. I think I met some of you in the past. One of the things we were trying to get out of that exercise was showing how similar the responses are between what issues affect property owners and businesses to what do kind of city council, mayor, leadership care about, right, and focus their attention on. And you know, those are oftentimes aligned. So part of our job as public outreach is to do this proactively and get information out that's accurate and timely that can help people to avoid bringing any unwanted attention to our projects, which could result in a higher risk for the utility. So couple ways we can do that, and this is really focused on obviously the RPR's role in this, but wanted to go through some of the resources. So you'll see in the bottom left picture, one of the best practices we've established for Smart Sewer is to have the RPR present at the public meetings. So in the picture in the bottom left, you can see the gentleman in the green shirt was at our most recent public meeting for supplemental I&I Round Grove. Drew, you might be able to tell me who that was, but you can see he's leaned over talking to residents about specifically how their properties are going to be impacted. And that's really beneficial for the program to just establish that connection for residents to the project and a face with the project. So that's been an effective practice for us. Some of the other resources that are available and sort of the process behind that, it really starts with developing a project fact sheet that's accurate about the project. So you can see an example on the screen for Blue River South Area 4, Phase 3. What's included in the fact sheet is just the boundaries, contact information, what's going on, what kind of work is being performed, the timeline, and then what they can expect during construction, who is doing the work, the cost, and then sort of a high level why is Smart Sewer doing this project in their neighborhood. Really, that should give folks information about the project. It's easy for project team members to flip that information to folks who are asking about the project. And from our perspective, having this nice template that is consistent across multiple projects really helps with efficiency and kind of the look and feel and brand for KC Water and Smart Sewer. So with the fact sheet, we sort of replicate that information on a web page, kcsmartsewer.us/projects is where you can find a good list of all the projects we're working on right now. So the fact sheet information is replicated on the web page with some information, how to get in contact with folks. Additionally, as we're preparing for the public meeting, which typically happens right around construction notice to proceed, We'll mail out a notification, obviously, to residents and property owners in the area, inviting them to the public meeting. In the recent past, to get more engagement at our public meetings, sometimes we've been joining, if the project is small enough and confined to one neighborhood, we'll just try to join their neighborhood meeting and talk about the project and have some discussion about the project, on their turf, so to speak. For projects that have larger project areas, or we feel like we know people are more engaged, we can have a separate public meeting and invite residents to that. So that's kind of the process on how we get the project started as it moves into construction on the public engagement side, and really starting to inform the community. You can go to the next slide. So one of the resources we wanted to talk about, and I should have put a polling question, but some of you are probably familiar with the printing portal. I'll put the link in the chat for how you can get registered for the Smart Sewer printing portal. But the printing portal really does have great templates and resources that you can use that are available to you to, talk about your project, proactively communicate to the public or business owners about the project, that are branded with Smart Sewer and tailored to the project. So the next slide actually has the whole list of all the different materials that we have, but you can see the templates around general types of communication specific to the public meeting, notification materials around smoke testing, CIPP, door hangers for easements, all sorts of different materials that are available to you, that are ready to go, that are approved by KC Water for your use, and that are branded with Smart Sewer information. I will say some people have a perception that the printing portal is like going on Amazon and you order it and it comes right to you. Because you actually have to input some information, your information is actually submitted to a graphic designer who develops the material following that template and inputting the information for your project specifically into the material, and then works with you to get that printed and delivered so that you can distribute it. So I'll put a link in the chat for access to the printing portal, but really we're encouraging folks, who are working on the projects and engaging with the community to use these resources. It's more efficient, it can save us time, and it's approved and should be a good avenue for getting the message out around the project. Anything to add to that, Drew?
I would say, yeah, just basically keep that in the back of your minds for future use. I know that we've used it more so here recently. Town Fork Creek comes to mind for water service interruptions, but yeah, great tool. So if you feel like you want to get a login, just look for the particular link in the upcoming chat here.
There is the link. I've also got a pocket guide on how to use it with some more instructions, so I'll put that in the chat as well.
Great. Thanks, Drew. So with that, we'll move into a little discussion on public outreach efforts within construction. Depending on your particular project, you'll likely have a public outreach liaison. So if so, just keep in mind to keep them updated with the contractor's schedule. Just another way for them to provide ample time for coordination with property owners. And again, you can request specific door hangers, notification letters, signage. It's also good to go ahead and let those guys know if you have any cool photos, or if they provide any feedback on, happy residents. They'd also like to hear some positive feedback as well, just not all the negative issues within. So within construction, obviously the on-site meetings or calls can be very beneficial with the particular property owners. It just provides them an opportunity to describe the work plan or if they have any upcoming needs or specific access issues that we could help out with, and just provides a better understanding what the prime contractor is doing and also their subcontractors. The photos here on this slide are just where public outreach helped out a particular project to provide signage for access to a property, basically allowing for entry and exit to a particular rehab center, facilitating that more easily. This is just a good example of how they can help out. So if you do have a particular project area with a public outreach liaison, just keep these items in mind. With that, we'll get into other construction impacts. First thing that comes to everybody's mind with this is traffic control. So Tina Haas with KC Water will talk a bit about traffic control, starting out with.
So we're just going to look at the traffic regulations and the overview of it. You know, the contractor, when they have the plans and they know who will be getting their traffic control and hiring like IBC or Rising Star, one of those traffic control companies, they'll be getting their permits about, 14 days in advance of that proposed closure date. And they'll have to go through Public Works, so that's downtown located at City Hall, in order to get that permit. And then all of these, devices, they'll actually be included in that traffic control plan. And then when it comes to, given the notification that's needed, and it's a notice or a letter to the homeowners in the direct area that the traffic control will be affecting, they will be given that time, given that notice, given that letter or a notification or just some type of written document stating that it's going to be closed from this date and close to that date, and how to maintain a detour or what detour to go through in order to get to their house. All right. For traffic ordinance overview, so this was actually adopted in 2021, December 20th, and this is where the traffic, if it's not in continuous use, it will have to be restored. And with this ordinance, they gave the time frame of 48 hours. So if there's absolutely no activity, the contractor is not going to be at that location. Everything will need to be backfilled. Final restoration will need to take place. Either that be to the asphalt, or whether that is a concrete road, or if they're in green space. Any type of restoration where traffic control will be needed, they'll need to, if there's no activity there, it will need to be restored. In this time frame, it doesn't include weekends or holidays, or so if it's over Labor Day weekend or something, that wouldn't be included. And the criteria of this new ordinance is 211030. So if you need more information on that new ordinance that got passed, was that number. Alrighty, thank you.
So I think the intent from the city standpoint was just to limit utilities or traffic control lane drops along roadways where you would start construction activities and then pop off and go to another particular site and just still leave your traffic control up. If that's the case, they basically want to limit that by saying if you're not going to be active within 48 hours, you need to backfill and restore and reopen the roadway. So,
and that includes street plates. So if there's like street plates at the location, that will also need to be removed to get that restoration completed, obviously.
Yeah, so just keep that in mind as your project begins work. Utility locates and coordination. So it's always good, obviously, to have weekly or bi-weekly meetings with superintendent to just kind of get a feel for their upcoming work areas. You know, with utility coordination, just a way to mitigate risk is, you know, as you get the plans and review the plans, highlight specific utilities that might be close to or in conflict of the work, and just you know, kind of make the contractor aware it's not your responsibility, obviously, to avoid particular incident, but any awareness that we can kind of help bring to the contractor to potentially mitigate risk of utility strike, you know, that's good. So keep that in mind as well as you're coming up your projects. Contractor notifications, like we stated earlier, the printing portal is a great resource for this. This photo here is a couple examples of a water service interruption notice through the printing portal, and then a sanitary sewer notice as well. So within the specs, it gives a time frame. Usually it's you know, 48 hours in advance for both CIPP and water main interruptions. So just verify that the contractor is doing this. And like we stated earlier, it can help avoid potential conflicts or issues. Also, as far as CIPP goes, you know, in older areas, if you could mention to the contractors to potentially ask homeowners to make sure that their P-trap is filled, that's served as beneficial as well to help reduce any odors that might work their way in through a floor drain or such. So. With open cut areas, you know, face-to-face conversations really help avoid a lot of concerns. You know, just the door hangers are great if somebody's not home. But I would advise that the contractor kind of circle back and try to make face-to-face contact. You know, if it were my yard and I just got a note on my front door that was basically saying, "Hey, I'm coming to dig in your yard," I would probably want to ask somebody some questions. So if at all possible, you know, try to lean on the contractors and make face-to-face contact with these particular work areas. The revised SR1 detail, I'm sure a lot of you know a little bit about that, but you know, with this, we're going to have larger patch areas, basically, you know, potentially full 2-lane widths or at least center line to curb. So with the larger patch areas, there's probably going to be a need for extended communication or notifications to the affected street or homeowners along that street. And again, you know, keep that printing portal in your mind for future use. Like Drew mentioned earlier, there's all kinds of great material there that we can pull from. So here within Smart Sewer recently, we have several I&I projects that are getting ready to kick off, or you know, here recently kicked off within construction. And with this, there's going to be quite a few construction activities within back easement areas. Again, face-to-face contact. You know, this can be a great way to explain exactly what the details of the rehab or improvements are going to be, and help facilitate any restoration special needs or requests. Some homeowners may have different grass types, so you can discuss that at this point. If that's the case, just make sure that any special requests are documented, you know, in writing, so that way it's not a fight after the work's completed. Within these areas too, compaction. Make sure that the contractors, you know, putting forth a good effort on compacting. We definitely do not want to have to come back and access these areas to put a little bit more fill in your settlement. So we see that here and there. Kind of depends on the contractor, obviously, but just make sure that they're doing their best to get full compaction. And then pre-con photos. So before they access the area, it's always good to take those pre-con photos in addition to your project pre-con photos, since these are basically, each back easement area is almost like its own project in and of itself. So if you need to take photos of the access road or the path that they take to make their way in the back easement, those are beneficial. Another helpful hint that I've had kind of picked up is sometimes I'll just walk the path and just take a video that I can refer back to if there's something, that may pop up after work's completed. So you can see in the picture here, they're potentially getting in some very tight spaces within these yards. So that's the case. There's a lot of little things that could be asked to be restored. So confirm the sequence. With this is something that we've kind of experienced in the last couple of years. If the plans call for a point repair within a back easement area, and then, say that it calls for lateral rehabilitation, like a lateral liner, double check with the contractor to see if they feel like lateral lining is going to be a for sure possibility. If not, if that point repair is nearby the lateral, I would suggest going ahead and taking care of that open service connection. What we don't want to do is take care of a point repair and then 2 months later, they do the CCTV of the lateral and find out that it's not lineable, and then we got to come back to that same property and excavate again to take care of that lateral. So just keep that in mind as well. If you're seeing laterals that are close to point repairs, consider taking care of it at that time. And then post-construction photos. So this is kind of geared towards the restoration the contractor does complete before they leave the property. You can see from the series of photos here, the RPR took photos of the replaced fence. And then there was some pavers that were replaced, some seating. And then before he left the property, he took like a final restoration photo, which was included in the daily report. So it's just another way, if something were to pop through on one at some point, we got great photos to refer to and discuss with the homeowner. With that, we'll move into site and surface restorations. So keep in mind with your projects, adequate site cleanup. We don't want the contractor leaving a bunch of spoil piles and trash, materials all scattered about. Stay on them to keep the site clean. This is a condition for processing monthly payments. So if you need to have that conversation with the contractor, if they're not keeping up with these items, don't be afraid to mention that as well, or bring it to the city's or Smart Sewer's attention if you need help facilitating that conversation. As far as surface restorations, time and specification requirements, typically it's a restoration supposed to be completed within a 2-week time frame. Look within your project's 1015 specification. These might differ depending on the area. There might be specific restoration areas where it calls for more timely restoration, but it's typically 2 weeks. And take that in consideration for payment with specific items. The spec section 2575 is the surface restoration spec, and it's good to refer to with these restorations. And for concrete, also do not let the contractor get away with partial concrete patches. If there's work within a concrete panel, they are responsible to replace the full panel as well. With that, some other restoration items. I can't harp on this enough, but property owners, provide them the details, time frame, access plan. Like we talked about with our polling questions, the more they know, the better off for all parties involved. And then there might be some coordination needed with the Public Works Department. You know, that could be their upcoming overlay schedule. You know, if they have a particular roadway identified for resurfacing, do your due diligence to look at their schedule. And if it appears that there might be a chance of this happening, we can contact Public Works. Usually Garrett Ross is a good contact, and see where that overlay kind of fits within their upcoming schedule. It's just another way we could potentially save KC Water some money related to the new requirements of the SR1. So with that, I know most of you folks have probably heard about the revised SR1 detail. Was incorporated last fall. It's now within all current contracts. I would suggest just, you know, look over the requirements. Obviously, 75% of that information from the old SR1 is still the case, but there are some new aspects within. You know, the most important item I feel as far as excavations go is just confirming that the contractor is completing their 1 foot overcut of the subgrade and pavement area. This kind of limits potential settlement further on down the line of a particular patch area. So highlighting a few of the changes, or you know, we touched on this earlier, but street patches are now curved to center line if they're confined within that area. So they're basically a full lane width, and they're going to be a minimum of 10 feet in length. So we're trying to get away from these jigsaw looking patches kind of all over the roadway that we've probably all seen throughout the city. So important highlight there. Also, overlaying a full lane for a block if more than 20% of the block is patches from your active project. So, you know, that would probably be the case if you had a total line replacement with several service laterals on a particular roadway. More than likely, you know, the way that those patches are going to line out, contractor would be responsible to go ahead and do a full lane width overlay for the length of the block. And then also, if there's a combination of existing or new patches within a roadway, if it totals up more than 50%, contractor will be overlaying the full lane as well. And we touched on this earlier, but if a particular street within your project was resurfaced within the last 5 years, contractor will be responsible to overlay both, basically 2 lane widths extending to the block face as well. So that's where the coordination with Public Works comes in. They do have a website that basically provides a overlay of all scheduled overlay or resurfacing projects within the city. I can put that link within the chat. It's kind of a useful tool. You can look at your overall project area, look at specific streets, and this map will show you, you know, what's identified for upcoming work, or, well, and also work that's been, or resurfacing or overlay work that's been completed within that last 5-year time frame. So I will get that in the chat this afternoon here as well. So with restoration items, obviously comes quality control and quality assurance. Quality control is part of quality management, just making sure that focused on fulfilling the quality requirements. So this is the testing aspect of the materials. And then the quality assurance is the quality management. So it's basically making sure that the testing was completed, more so, you're auditing the requirements that's needed for the QC. So the quality controller, the tests, inspections, and procedures performed before and during the execution of the work to guard against defects and deficiencies. So you're just making sure the construction items comply with the requirements. So obviously the contractor is responsible to provide the QC services. They should hire a qualified testing agency to perform any necessary testing and make sure that you as the RPR are getting copies of the QC reports or testing reports, and go ahead and make sure that you're documenting those in your daily reports as necessary. So the quality assurance, that's where the RPR comes in. They're responsible for the quality assurance. As we highlighted in last class 3, there's a number of items, testing items, showing some examples here. But yeah, as QA, just make sure that you're confirming the QC inspections and testings are being completed. So with that, we'll talk about probably project managers' kind of worst case email they can get, as far as if they're getting several of them, is Action Center or 311 claims, kind of the process on getting these resolved. So typically what happens is, a resident or business owner will submit a claim through the 311 process, and these will be divvied out by the city's engineering department, more than likely to the project manager or KC Water or Smart Sewer management. So that could be the FOM or CM or your particular project PM. Once these are obtained, the manager will go ahead and delegate or decide, like, hey, this is my project area, provide the details to the rest of the project team, including the RPR. The best way to resolve these are for the RPR to investigate the details of the 311 claim. So, if they need to go out on site and take some photos and reply back to the project team with kind of their findings and confirm if the particular details within the case are, project related for that particular contractor. And these will be, obviously we'll utilize the RPR during active construction. Once it gets within the warranty period, the project manager will have to take care of these or investigate kind of on their own means. But if it's during construction, they'll rely heavily on the RPR to gather the details and confirm. So their role is kind of to help expedite timely resolution or circle back with the contractor for a plan to resolve these issues. So keep that in mind. These photo there on the bottom right is of a settlement area. The RPR went out on site and took a photo and sent this back to the project team, and then also relayed some information from his previous daily report, identifying the repair that was done at this location. So once that's completed, and the contractor's known of the plan of action to make a resolution to the 301 claim, go ahead and send a follow-up email. That way the project manager can follow up with the city's engineering department to close the case. It's never good to have these cases slip or linger for a period of time. at that point, if there's several cases that are generated, or if they're not taken care of, they can be turned over to the legal department. And obviously from there, they could escalate. And we do not want that to happen. We would like to solve all these 311 cases at the project level during construction. So keep that. I'm sure each of you, as you've been active on a project, have experienced at least one or two 311s, if not several. So just kind of keep that process in the back of your mind. If you do see these come down from your particular project manager, just kind of the items and the process that we're looking for to get these resolved. So with that concludes today's session. We do have our last class scheduled for next Thursday at 12 p.m. That's class 5. I'd like to say thanks for everyone for joining today. And I guess go Chiefs. Should be an exciting game this evening. So if you have any questions or items that you'd like us to follow up on, go ahead and feel free to put those in the chat, or just send me an email directly, and we will follow up. Otherwise, see you all next week.
Drew, looks like there's one question in the chat. I don't know if that's been addressed yet. About PIAC.
Explain the use of PIAC funded projects.
You got more detail about that question, because it's funded through the city funds.
Yes. No,
the funds of PIAC come from project-based or I guess you could say criteria-based, and then the city funds that provide the work and the restoration and just everything a part of the project, even the design, come out of city funded, allocated there, I guess, from there. And it's chosen by what's needed the most and where. But it's all done, Tom, through a application process that is on the city government. It's kcmo.gov website.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, yeah, that helps.
Okay.
I just happen to be on a couple of those, and they happen to be storm or drainage related, and it seems like the city has funding to help out communities and neighborhoods and most of this stuff is happening on private property, so to help with the storm drainage and flooding.
Just to update you, PIAC actually has involvement with all city departments, like Public Works has a part of it. So PIAC could go for sidewalks in disarray or curbs that are completely destroyed. They have applications for those as well.
Well, thank you.
Well, thanks all. Like I said, I'll get the class material out this afternoon for both class 3 and 4. And then here in the near future, we'll also have the actual recordings up for viewing as well. So, have a good rest of your day. Stay safe and enjoy the game this evening.